Hi everybody. In this video, we'll start working with the Purchases Journal. As always, I strongly recommend that you download and print the worksheets published for this lecture so you can follow along with the video and practice using the Purchases Journal. It is very important to remember that a purchase journal can only be used to record purchases of merchandise inventory on account. The journal entry that is made on the Purchases Journal is a credit to accounts payable, a debit to purchases, and a debit to freight in. Any other transaction simply will not fit on the Purchases Journal and must be recorded in the General Journal or in one of the other special journals. Simpson's Card and Novelty Shop is a retail card, novelty, and business supply store. In this exercise, we will record the 6 purchase-related transactions located at the top of your purchase journal. The shop uses a purchase journal and a general journal. We can assume all purchases are on account unless otherwise specified. We can also assume that all purchases are of merchandise inventory. Let's begin. On April 5th, we purchased copy paper from Packing and Mailing Supply Center for $2,000 plus $100 shipping charges on their invoice number 502, dated April 2nd. So the full amount we owe on this invoice is $2,100. The purchase amount plus the shipping charges. Credit terms for this purchase were $210 net 30. In other words, we can take a 2% discount on the $2,000 purchase amount if we pay the invoice within 10 days. Otherwise, we have to pay the entire amount within 30 days. You should note that the purchase discount is not frequently offered on shipping charges. Let's begin. Date April 5th. Vendor's name Packing and Mailing Supply Center. Their invoice number 502, dated April 2nd. Terms $210 net 30. Credit accounts payable $2,100. Debit purchases $2,000. Debit freight in $100. Let's look at the next transaction. On April 12th, we purchased assorted holiday cards from Gifts and Holiday Cards for $1,900 on their invoice number 2808, dated April 19th. Credit terms were $210 net 30. Let's get that one recorded. Date April 12th. Vendor's name Gifts and Holiday Cards. Invoice number 2808, dated April 9th. Terms $210 net 30. Skip the posting reference column for now. Credit accounts payable $1,900. Debit purchases $1,900. We didn't have to pay any shipping on this order, so leave the freight column blank. On April 18th, we purchased 5 boxes of holiday items from Gifts and Holiday Cards for a total cost of $1,200 on invoice number 2904, dated April 15th. Credit terms are $210 net 30. Let's record it. Date April 18th. Vendor's name Gifts and Holiday Cards. Invoice number 2904, dated April 15th. Credit terms 210 net 30. Credit accounts payable $1,200. Debit purchases $1,200. On April 21st, we purchased a tray of cards from Specialty Business Cards on their invoice number 2013 for $1,100. Their invoice was dated April 19th. Credit terms are 110 net 45. This means that we get a 1% discount if we pay within 10 days. Otherwise, we have 45 days to pay the entire invoice amount. Why don't you pause the video and record this transaction on the purchase journal? When you're finished, start the video again to check your answer. Let's see if you got it right. April 21st, Specialty Business Cards, invoice number 2013, dated April 19th, terms 110 net 45, debit accounts payable $1,100. That's obviously credit accounts payable $1,100, debit purchases $1,100. Let's look at the next transaction carefully. On April 22nd, we received a credit memorandum number 102 from Gifts and Holiday Cards because one box of cards that we purchased from them on April 12th was water damaged. They gave us an allowance of $200 because of the damage. In other words, some of the merchandise we purchased from Gifts and Holiday Cards on April 12th was damaged, and they agreed to reduce the price we have to pay for the merchandise by $200. To record this transaction, we will need to debit accounts payable and credit purchase returns and allowances. Ask yourself these really important questions. Is this a purchase of merchandise on credit? Will it fit on the purchase journal? The answers are no. Therefore, this transaction cannot be recorded on the purchase journal. We'll need to record the transaction on the general journal instead. Turn to the general journal to record the transaction. April 22nd, accounts payable debit $200. Skip the posting reference for now. Purchase returns and allowances credit $200. And we need some description for the transaction. There's a variety of descriptions you could enter, something in the order of received credit memo number 102 from Holiday Gifts and Cards for damaged merchandise. Original purchase made on invoice 2808, dated April 12th, would work nicely. Going back to the purchase transactions, the last transaction is a purchase of merchandise on account and should be recorded on the purchases journal. Date April 29th. Vendor's name Business Forms Inc. Their invoice number 276, dated April 26th. Credit terms are net 30. This means that we don't get any purchase discount for early payment. We have to pay the entire invoice amount within 30 days. Credit accounts payable 3710. Debit purchases $3,600. And debit freight in $110. Once all the purchases for the month are recorded, we then need to total up our accounts payable credit column, our purchases debit column, and our freight in debit column. The last day of the month is April 30th. Put the word totals in the vendor's name column. Then total up all three columns. With Excel, this was very easy. For those of you who are doing this by hand, go ahead and total up your columns and see if your totals agree with mine. If your totals don't agree, then pause your recording to give yourself time to go back and find and fix any error you might have made. The total credits to accounts payable for the month is $10,010. The total of debits to purchases for the month is $9,800. The total of debits to freight in for the month is $210. Okay, now that we've finished recording the purchase transactions for the month of April into the purchase journal and totaled up our columns, we need to check to see if we're in balance. Do debits equal credits? Does this credit amount equal the sum of these two debit columns? Let's check it out. $210 plus $9,800 of debits equals $10,010. So our purchases journal is in balance. That's the end of this video. In the next video, we'll post our transactions from the purchase journal to the general ledger. See you next time.